Well, I mean, I would have been a kid. Would you have been a kid when you first came here?
Yeah.
And we didn't have a car, so it would have been a train over with my mum. And I remember her taking me to the Museum of Childhood. I remember her taking me to the castle, I think, and Princess Street Gardens would have been part of that.
Yes. I just remember, because we lived in the countryside in Angus, and I remember when we would come to Edinburgh, it just seemed like all this colour and everything when we went into the gardens. And I came with the Cubs in 1970. And when I was 7, because recently my Scoutmaster gave me this ancient old photo of me. I remember that. I remember being up on the castle, looking down at it, and just this magical big park.
It was a bit special because you had the floral clock if you came in the summer, and that was always amazing to you if you hadn't seen anything like that before.
Yeah. Like Central Park in New York, I suppose, in the middle of a city, to have this sort of massive green space that sort of as a, you know, I love that. I love how people use it.
I mean, relative to Central Park, it's a smallish area of land.
Yes.
But you could spend days exploring it, wandering around, and you might never quite get to the end of it.
Yeah. My whole thing about bandstands is that it's not just about performance, it's like a community gathering place. I love the idea that, you know, mums will come, and dads, with their kids, and there's a way of programming it that it's not just a thing for a performance and then everybody goes home. It's about bringing the community together in the very centre of Edinburgh. And I think that in a way that's not necessarily like a thing of commerce. And I really, really like that.
Just opening it up because it is not used nearly enough. Yeah. And of course, because it's not being used nearly enough, it has fallen into disrepair. I mean, I think, you know, sort of like community groups could ask to use it for things. You could have amateur musicians being invited along to do, I mean, something that's a step up from busking, but not dissimilar. Storytelling sessions during the weekends and school holidays, so that you could have a range of age groups being catered for, not necessarily music, because not everybody who's using the gardens wants music blasting at them all the time, but storytelling, I think, would be very good. Stuff for very small kids, stuff for older kids. Yeah.
I just think it's a really great opportunity for people to come together in a way that they haven't been able to for decades, and also just not just at the festival time, you know. I like the fact that, you know, it's such a beautiful ancient city, and something is happening, a new sort of architectural thing is happening in the middle of it, but yet it doesn't feel like a big kind of crazy glass box that's happening.
Like everything in Edinburgh, it's got to be a balancing act.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you've got that balance between the old town and the new town, and we're right at the halfway point here at the gardens. But you've got to, the visitor, there's got to be something for the visitor to do. You want to show them the city behind the city, not just the things they usually see, but there's more to the city than that. And we've always got that balancing act between wanting to be modern, but also wanting to be traditional, you know, making sure you respect tradition while being modern. And I don't think anybody's talking about huge radical changes to the structure of the gardens, and I'm not talking about shutting the gardens off to the general public. What they're talking about is making what's here more accessible and more beautiful. And also, I mean, my son's in a wheelchair, my younger son's in a wheelchair, and to make it more accessible, and some of the viewing areas that have been proposed up at actual Princess Street itself, ways of getting into the park and ways of getting into the grounds, or just getting a viewing spot, it would be great.
And change is difficult for everybody, but I'm just really obsessed with the idea of reinvigorating traditional spaces and bringing new energy and new ideas into parts of a city that haven't been vital for a long time. Here's a thing that used to be about bringing people together. You know, the bandstand was a community centre, and we've lost that in the very centre of Edinburgh, and we're now trying to recreate that in a lovely, beautiful way that will bring people together in a 21st century way.